welcome back to more Love Bakudan. Here we are, calling our parents, telling them how much we miss them. First called my parents. They were thrilled that I'd reunited with Sei already, and I let them know that I was about to call Yuki too. Now this is the one we're really nervous about. We don't know how she's going to take our return. As soon as Yuki's name left my lips, they hurried me off the phone, telling me this and that, all about how I needed to act quickly, get in contact with all my friends, and so on. I laughed when they said that. They liked Sei and Yuki a lot as it was, but I think they'd always have a soft spot for Yuki, given that she was always in some kind of trouble somewhere. Apparently the store business had gone completely out of their heads. Out of sight, out of mind, I guess. But that made life a lot easier for me if they weren't going to bug me about it. I resignedly told them it'd be fine, and I'd call them again later in the week. After that, I quickly did a once-over of the town's strip before it got too dark, plastering my advertisements against the telephone pole's walls with a vacant space, and even shoving some through mail slots. I remembered how much these had cost to get printed back in Tokyo, and both my face and wallet winced in pain. Hopefully all this advertising would bring it back to me with interest. Eventually, I ended up back home. I quickly checked the ancient answering machine to see if Sei needed any emergency bailing out, but nothing was waiting for me there. Remember, she's on a date now. Wonder what that firefighter's like. I was sure I'd hear all about it tomorrow either way. And speaking of tomorrow, I remembered to set up that board Sei mentioned, making my own advertisements with some old soft bits of chalk Grandma had left laying around. Writing down the words "grand reopening" and as ornately as I could, I dusted off my hands with a prideful sense of satisfaction at looking at my own handiwork. Hey, not bad. Not bad at all. But now that I'd raced through all this, there was only one other thing to do. I marched myself into the storeroom and stared at the phone once more, psyching myself up to punch in the number I knew so well. I still remembered it. Even after all this time, I remember my best friend's phone number from years back when, I called him. Obviously that's not the same number. He doesn't live there anymore because we were children, but it's pretty interesting how you just remember things that you don't really need to know anymore. That's just in your mind. Pretty crazy. Gotta do it, huh? The nerves were really something. I couldn't put it off any longer. It was time to call Yuki. The breeze from the windows and the front door blew in gently, kissing my face, even here all the way in a storeroom. It relaxed my tensed body. I felt my heart racing at the possibility of us talking again for the first time in so long. How did she feel about me? How did I feel about her? Could I really be the right answer to her problems? Would she even want me to be? I didn't know, but the only way I was going to find out anything was stop trying to skirt the issue and just, do it. I hated if she found out I was back in town from something like a flyer. Come on, this isn't like you, Haruka. Let's do this. After reprimanding myself for almost chickening out, my hand hesitated over the phone, hovering above it as though I could somehow magically follow through a receiver without ever lifting a finger. Eventually, I picked it up. Grandma had one of those older phones from the late 80s that by some miracle still seemed to work. Taking a deep breath and almost as though I were a teenager all over again, my fingers began to move in automatic motions to punch in Yuki's number. I pressed call. I gnawed at my lips as the phone began connecting. And then, I bit my lip a little harder as the phone began to ring. Come on, please be home. The phone continued to ring off the hook. Nobody was picking up. Bewildered, I looked at the phone in my hand before pressing it back to my ear in confusion. Yuki? Not home. Huh, I guess things really had changed a lot since I was last here. I wonder if she's already at work. From what Sei was saying, it didn't sound like her workplace was particularly forgiving either. Her boss is apparently a major asshole. So eventually, after the phone continued to ring to no avail, I decided to give up for now. I gave it a long time before I did hang up too. There was no answering machine in sight, nor was there anybody picking up either. Damn, too bad there isn't an answering machine. Wandering back to the main floor of the bookstore, I leaned against the counter with a heavy sigh. Well, that sucks. What am I supposed to do now? I frowned. Should I go and visit her at work? All that emotional preparation was now just kind of left to go a big fat nowhere. I didn't know what the right thing to do was. Would she really want to reunite at work? I mean, if that place was so terrible for her on such a regular basis. Would she even want to reunite with me at all? My heart sank. Yuki, I really hope you're alright. But even with my disappointment, I felt as though I had even bigger things to think about. Now, with both flyers posted out and the advertisement board ready to go, tomorrow was now officially the grand reopening of Bakudan Books. Everything was in order, and between Yuki, Sei, and all the other women that were about to make appearances in my life, nothing that prepared me for the adventure ahead, even a little. My life was about to change so dramatically, so incomparably to my old life here, that I really didn't know what was about to hit me. Welcome, everyone, to my own personal story of Bakudan Books. Story of love, adventure, and all the drama in between. And an undeniable way to find out just what kinds of things can explode into your life right when you least expect them. Thus, the first morning of my real life began, and I couldn't wait to get started. My eyes pinged open the moment I woke up. Jolted awake with a start and found that everything that had happened over the last short while really wasn't a dream after all. I was the owner of my own bookstore, a bookstore that's been making a lot of money prior to my grandma's passing, too. I was basically sitting on a gold mine. Time for work. Throwing the sheets off my body, I leapt out of bed with a renewed and full sense of excitement enveloping me. Got myself ready for the day ahead as fast as possible. Time to begin day one. Chalkboard was ready, the books were all in perfect alignment, so far so good. I still had all that excess stock out back, but that was alright if, say, when the mysterious Akane were willing to help me out with all that. All in all, to actually get to this point over the course of 2 days, I hadn't really done too badly at all. I checked the clock just above the door. It was about to turn 10 in the morning. People were out on the front of the beach's sidewalk. Now would be the perfect time to reintroduce Bakudan Books into the world. I mean, in the daytime, the strip of Akiyama was innocent enough, sure. Just another way to access the beach, and the red light district had visitors all throughout the day. In the light, it was a mixture of both innocence and not so innocence, but in the night, everyone came alive. Naturally, this meant that Bakudan Books had pretty long hours when it wanted to. I figured I'd work out a proper schedule for the store later on tonight. Alright, chalkboard, just you and me now, here goes nothing. As I opened the door, I heftily carried out the heavy chalkboard in my arms, and propping it up, I placed my hands on my hips in a sense of pride and satisfaction. Grand reopening, Bakudan Books now open for business, and now we wait for the no doubt gaggle of people that are going to come in at any moment. As I dusted off my hands and walked back inside, propping open the front door with a wooden wedge beneath it, I felt pairs of eyes peering inside before I'd even made it to the front counter. Hey, didn't they close down? Nah, the owner passed on. Guess it's back open for business now. How excited. See? We're already a hit. Wow, Bakudan Books is back. Look, this is that one store. Haruka told me about this place. Hey, I guess you could say it's Bakudan. Get it? Bakudan? No? Okay, I'll shut up. I hate you. But I hate that it made me laugh even more. I felt my heart race giddily at hearing the chattering crowd beginning to gather outside. I guess this place was much more of an Akiyama landmark than I had originally thought. As I walked up to behind the counter, sitting myself down on the newly cleaned leather stool behind it, a young woman came inside and eagerly asked me the question that was apparently on everyone's lips. Excuse me, I don't mean to pry. My first customer? Oh, not at all. How may I help you, miss? Oh, I was under the impression this place had closed down somewhat recently. Are you reopened for business? Did you not read the sign? This place, it's that place, right? You know, the place with those books, you know? Oh, I certainly do. You're a woman of discerning taste. Well, I don't like to brag. We are open again. I'm the granddaughter of the former owner. She left this place to me in her will, so it's my baby now. A look of giddy delight came across this woman's face. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be sure to spread the word. Ooh, yes, please. Thanks, sweetheart. I appreciate it. Ah, she's so handsome. I felt a smug smirk curve my lips into a grin as I watched her blush a little at my remark, and with a wave of excitement, she hurried out of the store. And in her place came 2 more people. I had a lot of the original stock that Grandma had left behind already waiting on the shelves. 2 people became 3, and 3 quickly became 6, and then soon inside Bakudan Books, it was a mini reopening party of epic proportions. Epic in the sense that I actually didn't expect anyone to show up on the first day, let alone a gaggle of people. I guess everyone's just as thirsty for dirty writing as they are for the real deal. I made a few sales within my first couple of hours of opening, and it felt as though Grandma's watchful eye was resting on my back. It was incredibly fulfilling. Eager patrons handed over their money and even asked me for some recommendations. I figured if I could get the ebb and flow of this just right, I'd be able to make a nice, profitable living for myself back here in Akiyama. Perhaps in the end, I'd even be more well-known than Grandma. That was shooting a little high for my first day, though. Thank you for your patronage, man. Please come again. Haruka! As a familiar voice called out to me over the hustle and bustle of the crowds inside the store, I saw someone's familiarly blonde hair poking out from near the front door. Oh my, this is the firefighter? And at her side there towered an incredibly gorgeous woman. Whoa. Was that Akane Hasegawa? Holy crap. Jesus. Phew, it's busy in here, huh? Excuse me, miss. Excuse me, thank you. Oh. This is one hell of a turnout, say. You sure this is the first day here? I promise it is. I helped her clean it all up yesterday. Damn, nice work. It's looking pretty great. Oh, really? Thanks. Did I say help? Sorry, I meant to say that I did everything. Sure you did. As saying, the woman at her side came up to the counter, cutting softly and cordially through the gaggle of people gathered either side of the store. My eyes were delighted by the sight of the woman at Say's side. I almost felt a little shy from the way I could see her golden eyes mentally undressing me. Haruka, this is Akane Haruka. With a broad, beaming smile on her face, she stretched out her arm to grab my hand in greeting. Nice to meet you. You can just call me Akane, so just Haruka is fine for you too, right? Yeah, yes ma'am. Okay, yep. You're a handsome one, aren't you? I blinked in dismay, looking to Say for approval that I could flirt back with this woman that had been her date just a night prior. I took her knowing little nod as permission to do just that. I also guessed that the date hadn't quite worked out for the 2 of them. Aw, if this scene was unfolding. I smirked at my best friend, who shook her head almost as though she was reading my thoughts. As Akane held out her hand to shake my own, I couldn't help but notice the scars across them. Damn. I already wanted to know every inch of her story. Wow, forward and gorgeous. Nice to meet you too. Say's told me a little bit about you. She has she? All good things, I hope? No, of course. Or are you a bad girl underneath it all? Akane's eyes flashed in a knowing way, and I couldn't help but smirk a little right back at her. I'd expect nothing less from an erotic bookstore owner. I'll have to let you find out sometime. Say, raise your eyebrows as did I. I might be a little in love. Ooh. Damn, you don't miss a beat, do you? Touché. Akane chuckled and slipped her hands into her pockets. So you really are the new owner, are you? Haven't seen you around town before. I just got back a couple days ago, actually. I have to say, the morning has been almost overwhelmingly busy since Say and I overhauled this place yesterday. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to get this busy quite so fast. I know, look at all those people. This is awesome. Sex always sells, though. I'm not surprised. Well, when you put it that way, a whole lot of people miss this place. I'm not surprised it launched right back up into success. Oh, were you a regular here? Sure was. In my line of work, there's nothing better than just buying into some harmless relaxation. Kane's smile was infectious. Her laughter was loud and confident, as though every inch of her knew just how good-looking she was. That level of being so self-assured was an incredibly attractive trait. In a way, I was glad that the date hadn't worked out on Say's end of things, because damn, he really was quite the catch. Say, mind if I take a look around? I'm itching for a new read. I ain't usually the bookish type, but when it comes to these kinds of things, count me in. Kane laughed again. Couldn't help but smile. From the look on Say's face, neither could she. Oh no, go right ahead. It's what it's there for, after all. Thanks, doll. Shuffling her broad, muscular frame in between the people darted around the shop floor, silenced against the counter with a weary sigh, and both of us couldn't help but laugh. So what the hell happened with Akane last night? Holy shit. I know you said she was a firefighter, but you never said she was the reason fires started. You cornball. Isn't she gorgeous? Trust me, if I could climb her like a tree, I totally would. I looked at her puzzled. Huh? What gives? Did the date not go well or something? Tay paused and rubbed her chin. Her expression was surprisingly unreadable. I didn't know if it was just because I hadn't been here in quite some time, but I couldn't work out what she was thinking for one of the first times ever. Her eyes fell to one of the leftover advertisements I had remaining from my skirmish around Akiyama's beach strip, and she began to fiddle around idly with the corner. I don't know, it's just, something didn't click, I guess. Click? Say, are you kidding? With a woman that statuesque and gorgeous, I wouldn't care if all the clicks sounded like clacks. What's really going on? Despite that I couldn't read her properly, Say never missed a chance to score with a hot girl. I knew that much from high school. Surely that would never change. So what happened differently this time, It's nothing, honest. I guess I just wasn't as into it as I thought I'd be, that's all. I mean, with your sorry self showing back up in Akiyama all unexpectedly, the last few nights have been pretty crazy. I barely had the time to think about anyone else, right? Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, that's more than enough about my failed romantic exploits. Yeesh. How's your morning been? Actually, did you manage to get in touch with Yuki yet? As always, I was very good at deflecting the topic. I resignedly sighed, folding my arms as I sat down on the stool opposite her and looked around at the shop before me. I mean, you can see how it's been going. This is the first time I've been able to sit down all morning, pretty much. I guess everyone's wrapped up in a good book right now. Oh, for sure, it's wild, but awesome to see. Like I said before, sex sells. That's very true. When it comes to Yuki, though, I couldn't get a hold of her last night at all. That figures. Sadly. I bet she was already at work then. I wish I could have gotten to talk to her. You know how when you psych yourself up for something and then, it just doesn't happen? Felt like I temporarily become a deflated balloon. Oh, Haruka, I'm sorry. But maybe if you call her earlier today, you can get in touch with her. I wouldn't be waking her up or anything, would I? It sounds like she has a lot of work. She has to work all the hours of the night these days. Nah, I think she gets home around 5 in the morning or something like that. Jesus. If you call in a couple hours, I bet you could catch her. Something about hearing an actual time when I could finally get back to talk to her was reassuring. Maybe I'll do that then. Good. Now, tell me about your morning and all the sexy stories people have been buying. As saying, I chattered over the temporarily empty counter, and Akane was totally engrossed in some novel or another. My eyes wandered over to a certain girl standing beside the manga bookcase on the right-hand side. Oh, she's cute. I noticed her very briefly earlier, but now with all the people from the crowds moving back out onto the streets, I could finally see her properly. Hey, Say, do you know who that is? Who? That brunette over there. She's adorable. Standing beside the bookcase away from Akane and the other customers, I noticed a young woman looking at the small selection of the manga that our bookstore had to offer. She was stood in all black and with a slightly nervous disposition and looked as though she was incredibly shy. I wondered if this was the first time she'd been in a place like this, looking so cute. Above all else, even above all the worry and the nervousness that she had on her pretty face, she seemed to be very curious about a book on the top shelf that she just couldn't quite reach, no matter how hard she wiggled her arm. It was like trying to watch a bunny hop up onto a surface that was far too high for it. So cute that you couldn't look away, but you don't want to help, because that would just ruin it. As she began to pout, it felt my heart melt a little. I could just watch her all day, really. I don't know who she is. I've never seen her before, but I sure wish I'd known with knockers like that. Major boob envy or what? Say, oh my god. Just kidding. Well, okay, not really, but still. Maybe you should go help her get that book down, though. Being the owner and all. Looks like she's struggling, and look, you're enjoying every second of it. Alright. Man the counter for a sec. Aye, Captain. I laughed as I stood up from my seat behind the counter and as Say rushed behind me. I walked across the shiny shop floor and stopped just short of the cute girl before me. Excuse me? Oh, what should I do? I'll never get it down at this rate. I can't ask the clerk. Hey, I'm already here. Oh, alright. Ow. Spinning around in surprise at hearing someone's voice addressing her, she placed her hands up to the top of her chest and clasped a ball. After accidentally whacking me with them, that is. Oh, I'm so sorry. She sure could pack a punch. The shy girl before me pulled the edges of her black sweater down to the tips of her fingers. Despite my now slightly achy head, the way her shyness was making her act made my heart skip a beat. Everything about this girl just made me want to find out more about her already. Was this one of the girls Grandma told me about? I mean, was she your type, Grandma? Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Do you need some help reaching the volume of Devil Layer? The girl before me flushed a brighter red than I'd ever seen anyone flush before and shook her head profusely from beneath her bangs, shoving her glasses back up against the bridge of her nose. No, I was just looking. Sorry, I didn't mean to trouble you. You didn't trouble me at all. As the owner, it makes me super happy to see anyone interested in my stock after all. You're the owner now? Now? I am, yep. So you've been here before, then? The girl paused and nervously shuffled around before me. It seemed like face-to-face communication wasn't quite her strong point. Oh, she was so cute. Not too much. I could already tell that that was an understatement, and I tried to hide the big, smitten grin from my face as I looked at her. Oh, alright. You sure you don't want me to get it down for you? I promise, it's really not a problem. It's actually more helpful to me if you were to ask me. The girl blushed profusely for a second time and clasped her hands together before her stomach. No, I mean, well, I could tell that she was having trouble confessing what she really wanted to do. And so, standing on the tips of my boots, I went up to the top shelf and made the decision for her. Here. I placed the manga in her hands. It was a task that had been worth doing. I watched as her eyes lit up, and I could have sworn I even heard a little gasp between her lips in excitement. Her hands quickly gripped the cover, and I smiled at her as she looked up at me. Thank you. No sweat. Remember, you don't have to be embarrassed here. We're all self-indulgent creatures, you know. The girl blinked twice, almost as though she couldn't register that someone was talking to her normally, despite her crippling shyness, and giggled into her hand. Damn, such a pretty voice. I felt my face go a little red at the sound. Thanks. Oh, yeah, no problem. The girl's laughter faded into another embarrassed grimace, and she turned away from me to flick through the manga. I could tell that she felt a little uneasy about having to have talked with someone for as long as she did. Let alone the fact that the stranger, me, actually knew about her smut-reading habits. How I wanted to stay and stare, but that'd be weird to do. And most girls aren't into that kind of weird. She shuffled forwards a little more, practically pressing herself up against the bookcase, and turned her face meekly over the shoulder to talk to me. I'll ask again if I need something. I promise. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to crowd you. Please, take your time. Thanks. Between her, Connie's muscles, and Say's infectious smile, the store was becoming quite the hotspot for girls. And as it happened, I was about to meet another one on my travels across the Bakudan bookshop floor, too. Whoa. Ambling towards the counter with a large pile of books in her hands, a small young woman wearing a set of sunglasses and a face mask hurriedly rushed out from behind a bookcase. She was moving with quite a lot of haste in her step, trying to maneuver her way through the crowds and toward the counter. And as I remained in place so as not to knock into her, somehow, despite being absolutely nowhere near me to begin with, she did that all on her own. Ah! The books fell to the ground in a loud group of thumps and page ruffles, and both myself and the masked stranger began to pick them up into our arms. The customers around us had only bothered to care for a brief second before being totally engrossed in their own purchases once more. I was pretty grateful to not deal with the continuous embarrassment that so often came with public staring. I'm sorry, ma'am. No, it's my fault. But perhaps the strangest thing above all about this mysterious person, it wasn't the way they had somehow veered themselves directly into me, despite not being in my way at all, but the fact that when we stopped to look at each other, it felt like something out of a movie. You know, the kind of hot, hokey movies where a cute, clumsy girl drops her books and someone leans down to help her pick them up, and then their eyes meet and it's just a corny romantic moment? Yeah, that felt a little like that. Couldn't see her eyes, but I could somehow feel the way she was looking at me. It felt like the world had slowed down a little with our connection, and I felt our fingertips touch as they hovered over the books. I was speechless. She was too. Who was this? Ah. Oh my god, it's really her. What do I say now? Was she mumbling? Couldn't really hear what she was saying, but whatever it was, it sounded intense. Wouldn't it be funny if this was like Yuki? Did we know each other? I couldn't tell from the face coverage she had on her. Her hair was beautiful, though. Sorry, miss, but do I know you from somewhere? The girl paused, and I got the impression that she felt a little embarrassed. I smiled warmly at her with an understanding gaze as we began to pick ourselves up from off the ground. As I held the pile of books in my arm, she smiled as she tilted her head to the side. We've met before? Oh, have we? I totally didn't realize. Oh, no, I said, have we? Well, I don't know. It seemed like such an oddball. A cute one, but still odd. Looking at me with what felt like a discerning eye, she folded her arms. Now, just from looking at that handsome, intriguing confidence of yours. Huh? I guess you're the new owner of this place, am I right? Well, I'm sorry to be such a bother. I've just been so looking forward to meeting you. Oh, cool. Is that so? Were you a regular here before? When your grandmother was here? Yeah, I was for ages. My grandma, huh? How did you know that? I never mentioned I was her granddaughter, but she seemed to know an awful lot about me and already recognize me as just that. It wasn't like meeting my grandma had any particular family resemblance, especially before she passed. I mean, she was a very small, gray old lady. I wonder just who this girl really was. She seemed like she didn't want to be found out anyway, with that face mask and glasses. Perhaps found out is the wrong term. Maybe she was just shy too. I see. I'm so sorry they bumped into me. I didn't mean to get in your way. Oh, not at all. It was my fault. I'm just so clumsy sometimes, you know? Thank you for helping me pick up all these books. No, it's not a problem. Ugh. I feel like I'm totally messing this up somehow. I looked down at the titles of the books in my hands. My fan is now my girlfriend, and an idol's harem were staring up at me. As I looked at the rest of them, I noticed the key theme of a famous woman and her fans was the predominant theme, at least through the titles. I raised my eyebrows. You really like these kinds of books, hmm? Oh, you mean erotic books? She didn't even know what kind of books she liked the most. I doubted she picked all these up by chance. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but I meant more the subject matter, idols, right? The girl before me giggled quietly and nodded. Oh, right, yeah, I mean, the idea of such a forbidden love is so romantic, don't you think? I was thrilled to see that you had so many books like this in your store. I hope you don't mind me continuously buying out your stock. Okay, odd though she may be, her infectious laughter was making my heart flutter. Hey, the more the better, right? It's always good to have a very clear understanding of what you want. I definitely have a very clear idea of what I want, so you're right in saying that. I was a little transfixed by her, I had to admit. Something about her body movements was beautiful, even with something as simple as walking over to the counter. There was a natural gracefulness to it. It felt like she was perhaps a professional dancer, something that involved her body in ways that would attract the crowd's attention. And it wasn't like she was doing pirouettes in the middle of the bookstore either. No, these were subtle, pretty movements. Even just from the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way that she shifted her position of standing, something about this girl was enticing. It was like, even with the face covering, she still had a confidence that was unattainable by so many. Maybe the real charm of her was the fact she was keeping her face hidden, and I still wanted to know more. Something about her seemed oddly familiar, too. I wonder what it was, but there was no way I could place it. Speaking of familiarity, she certainly seemed to know me, too. Felt like she didn't let her eyes wander off of me the entire time we moved together. Wow, need some help with all that, man? As we approached the cash register, Say's eyes popped out behind her skull at the sight of just how many books we had between us. I laughed and looked at the woman to my side before nodding along with her. You'll be earning your money today, huh? Sure, you must be a real bookworm, huh? Sure, whatever. So, anyway, how are you finding your first day? Oh, I'm so glad you're going to be open again. Her tone was considerably less interested when she was talking to Say, and I felt both honored and a little confused. So he smirked at me, recognizing this girl and I had already made some kind of a connection, whatever it was, and began scanning the books to place into a large bag. Oh, my first day's going pretty good, thanks. I feel a little bit overwhelmed around a lot of people, but I'll be alright. Oh, really? You don't seem the type to get rattled by lots of people. You look like someone who would go to a lot of clubs in Tokyo or something. Maybe you bumped into a pretty girl there, right? I blinked and Say looked at me with a curious look on her face. Was this person? Anyway, where are you from? Sound a little like you have an accent, right? You got that right. I'm from somewhere much farther away than from Akiyama. Huh, is that so? I thought you sounded like you were out of town. So you've been paying a lot of attention to me, have you? I like that in a girl. Oh. So forward. My heart's fluttering. Thank you. I try. Say finished scanning the last book, placing it into the bag the young woman had brought with her, and went slightly across against the counter. The young woman before began to fidget awkwardly and looked away from Say's pointed stares. You know, even with your face mask and sunglasses, you look way familiar. Did you go to our high school, maybe? No? Guess not. I definitely would have remembered somebody as cute as you being in my classes. Ah. With a fluster and a giggle, the stranger laughed bashfully. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Her wine red hair, her frame, her voice, it sounded hinged with an accent of some kind. She was a mystery, that's for sure. I mean, we definitely had foreign tourists here for the red light district here in Akiyama. But somehow, she felt different. Like she'd come here with some other kind of purpose, I guess. Something about her just seemed so pretty and alluring. I wondered if I'd ever get to find out more. I just can't seem to place it, but you seem so familiar somehow. So my books? Hey Haruka, didn't you tell her that this place is nice and dust-free? You don't need the mask on, I promise. I'd like to keep it on, please. Give me my bags of books already, please. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. Leaning back from the disgruntled, suspicious woman standing next to me, Say made a noise of contemplation as she handed over the bag. Almost as soon as the money was out of her hands and into the bank of Bakudan, the girl looked at the clock just above the door and hastily swept up the purchase into her hands. I was at the time, gotta run. She turned tail faster than the speed of light and almost bumped into me again upon her leaving. I'm sorry, Haruka. I have to go, but... Stopping just short of the front door, she tilted her head to the side and I heard a girlish, slightly high laughter in her voice as she spoke. Haruka, I'll be back for you. That's a promise. Wait! Breezing past me nimbly and swinging open the door to the front of the store, the girl was gone, hastily and far out of sight. As she rushed out, I caught a strong waft of her perfume. She smelled amazing. Who the heck that was? I turned to look back at Say in confusion. Wow, who the hell was that? What a woman. Beats me. I've definitely seen her before, though. Did you get a look at her face? Nah, she was trying pretty hard to cover it up. Couldn't get a look in at all. I thought she seemed familiar too, though. Well, she didn't go to school with us. Ooh, maybe it was a famous celebrity? Those are the only two options for women. They're either old classmates or celebrities. Well, duh. What do you think? Couldn't help but laugh at Say's idea. It just seemed so silly to even think plausible. I mean, Akiyama? I kind of doubt it. The most well-known celebrity from here is that lady who was in the shampoo commercial about 15 years back. Ah, how could I forget? Miss Tanaka was a genuine hometown hero for a while. She sold the hell out of that shampoo. Well, that aside, that girl even knew my name without me telling her. That was odd. Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I was like, I don't think we told her our name. Really? Maybe she heard it from somewhere else. I mean, your grandma was famous here. Besides, her disguises idols do that kind of thing all the time, right? Yeah, you know, they don't want people to, paparazzi to know who they are. Oh, I just lose my mind if it was someone from Wings. Wings? Oh, right, that famous Korean girl group. I heard they were trying to make their debut in Japan, actually. Could it really have been someone from that? Nah, surely not, right? While I was still in the brief daydream about dating a cute pop star, I shook my head resignedly. Idols. Huh. She did buy a huge stack of those kinds of books. Maybe she's just hung up on the fantasy of their lifestyle. He wants everyone to think she's famous when she's really just like, a janitor or something. Well, I guess time will only tell. Really, I wonder. be able to capture my attention like that without showing even a little of her face, it was very impressive. I could only hope that she'd return. I'd wanted to find out more about that enigmatic puzzle of who she was. But from the way she was talking, it sounded like she had every intention of returning. Saying I shrugged our shoulders, accepting that there was little we could both do right now. Exchanged our places from behind and in front of the counter once more. Having just finished meeting a beautiful stranger, I decided to stop and take a look around Bakudan Books. Kinda had been absorbed in the book she'd picked up for a good long while. She must have found something especially engaging. And the girl that I'd gotten down double layer for was still hurriedly way in her corner, peering through the manga we'd stocked. Felt my heart flutter with affection as I could see her cheeks getting a little redder with each page turn. And as for the masked stranger who had run out of my store, I wondered just where she was right now. She was so bubbly with me, but somehow so preoccupied. But I had to say, so far everything was going swimmingly for our first day. It was all but perfect. I'd have to serve a few more customers around the lunch rush hour, but after that things began to die down a little more. The girl that I'd been reading double layer had left, but she'd placed the manga back on one of the lower shelves daintily, in a desperate attempt to not cause any trouble for me. Aw, I found that rather sweet. Akane had also bid myself and say farewell, but not before purchasing a set of books and a trilogy that she seemed rather engrossed in the first story with. As the hours ticked by, we began to increasingly find ourselves with less and less to do. As Sei played with an orange elastic band idly, looking in between her fingers with an occasional ouch, I turned to face her. You know, you don't have to stick around on my account. It's all good here. Oh, don't mention it. It's been a lot of fun getting to hang out here again. Yeah, it has been. I just meant, you didn't have to put yourself out, that's all. First of all, I'm always putting out, so get with the program. Just kidding, or am I? Secondly, you can't just get rid of me that soon, I missed you way too much to just up and leave this place on your opening day, dummy. Thanks, Sei. Sei grinned at me, swinging off of one of the sturdy boxes behind the counter serving as her makeshift seat, and turned to look over at the shelves next to where she was sitting. I began to get lost in thoughts of calling Yuki again. Time for that would surely be coming up soon if I was going to call earlier in the day and time. What's this? Oh, wow. Huh? Oh, wow, Haruka, check this out. How did we miss these babies when we cleaned up? As Sei stood up from her seat with a laugh, she moved down the bottom shelf and picked up a small stack of love-related magazines. Hot damn. Look at these things. There's all different kinds. Smutty magazines, girly mags, pin-up magazines with all the posters missing. So what kind of woman was your grandma, Haruka? Hey, you met her. Wow, she was apparently even more of a good time gal than I thought. What's even in that pile anyway? Are they old? Oh, yeah, they look pretty old to me. There are a few here from the 70s and 80s. Vintage boobs and lots of them. You should totally hold on to these. Are you kidding? I wouldn't sell these even if you paid me. They're practically an heirloom. As Sei and I stood with our small pile of naughty magazines at our disposal, I was honestly more fascinated than anything. How had we missed these whilst cleaning? These look so weird compared to the modern X-rated magazines. Old grainy pictures, lots of stars covering up more explicit parts. Both Sei and I couldn't help but laugh. Behind me back at the storefront, there weren't too many people. A few old women had come in. They were chattering amongst themselves at a small table placed beside the window. Looked as though they were already organizing some kind of book club, which I couldn't help but think was strangely cute. Sei lifted up one magazine in particular to hand to me, and this immediately caught my eye. Hey, check this one out, the Ultimate Soulmate Quiz. Is it one of those quiz-only magazines? God, I love those. I would do those like every day if I could. Let me see that. Here, you have flicked through it. I gotta pee. Alright, upstairs on your left. Thanks, just in case I peed in your room. Just make sure you do it on the plastic. Ew. Sei laughed as she turned to walk up the wooden steps, and as she left the shop floor, a bell on the front of the door rang quietly. Somebody pushed it open with a gentle entrance. Oh, hello. I was surprised to see the kind of woman that had opened the door with such a gentle touch. She looked as intimidating as the air around her. Felt as though the entire world's atmosphere bent to her will, and she knew it did, too. Her face was handsome, but her eyes were kind of the same ferocity of a wild beast. Just who the hell was this anyway? Beneath her eye, she had a tattoo. No, I couldn't quite read what it said from a distance. That says, endure? I don't know if I'd have a tattoo on my face, but I certainly wasn't going to be staring into the mouth of a tiger like that. An erotic bookstore, hmm? She slipped a hand in her pockets and walked with a certain type of swagger towards the counter. Confident? No, not quite confident, certain. There was this entirely new level to the sense of self-assurance she felt. She was the kind of woman who knew that whenever she wanted something, she was going to get it no matter the cost. Her air held up a palpable thickness of tension. The old woman in the cover immediately stopped talking, and suddenly all eyes were on this exchange about to take place between me and whoever this was. I felt the hair bristle up on the back of my neck, and I discarded the magazine of quizzes back behind me on the boxes. "Oh, can I help you?" Even for someone like me, that took a lot of nerve to actually ask. The woman's eyes looked me over with a deliberately blunted but still sharp glare. Though surprisingly, I didn't get the impression that she actually meant me any ill will yet anyway. If she changed her mind in the future, I wouldn't be surprised. Her smile oozed as much certainty as she felt in her actions, and she walked proudly up to the counter. I think the better question is, how can I help you? I looked at her in confusion. What? Help me? I'm afraid Look, I can tell you're a busy girl, so I won't waste your time. My name is Teru Tokugawa. There was a quiet gasp from the corner of the bookstore with her interruption. I raised an eyebrow as the woman before me leant against the counter with a hand propping herself up, and slipped the other into her pocket. I wasn't really sure what to say. It was like her name itself had been a statement that had just entirely flown over my head. I decided to suck it up and introduce myself just like I would to anyone out there. "Nice to meet you, I'm Haruka." Seemingly impressed by my caliber of nerve, the woman before me straightened her back. "Haruka, you're Mishima, aren't you? Nothing but trouble, I'd wager." "Sorry?" This lady was trying to talk to me about trouble? I didn't know she was a comedian as well. "I know a little about this bookstore's long history. Your grandmother used to run this place, right?" So she already knew about my grandma. Well, I guess that wasn't surprising if she was as infamous as Say mentioned. Luckily, I wasn't too disturbed by her knowledge of my family. That was fairly common around these parts, but the way she was delivering it, everything out of her mouth felt alarming. "That's right. I haven't seen you around here before. I just moved back into the city. I left around 5 years ago or so. My parents didn't really want to run an erotic bookstore with a teenage daughter in the house, so the smirk that slipped onto her face was equal parts obnoxious and attractive. Why she look so self-assured for anyway? That's so. 5 years, you said?" "That's correct." "No wonder you haven't heard of me then." Tell that the woman before me was having a field day trying to wind me up. I bit my tongue as I saw her fumbling around for something in her pockets. Honestly, I half expected it to be a knife. "Here, this is especially for you. But to tell you the truth, I don't entirely believe your origin story anyway." Beckoning me to open the palm of my hand, she dropped a small circular business card into it. And what's this supposed to be? "Read it and find out." Abruptly cut off by Teru's seemingly permanent, intimidating aura, my eyes fell to the small piece of card now in my hands. "Tokugawa's security. You expect me to believe you work for a security firm?" "Something like that. Financial security, physical security, you know, that kind of thing." "Unless you're in a gang already, I'd assume you could do with protection, right?" "A gang? Did she seriously think that?" Couldn't even tell anymore. I began to frown, and Teru's smile only grew wider. I knew exactly what this was. This wasn't a security firm at all. This was a mobster's calling card. I had seen it plenty of times in Tokyo, or even just in dramas and movies. I slipped the card into my pocket to avoid any unnecessary drama and folded my arms. "I'm fine for the time being, thank you." "Oh, I'm sure you are. Having just inherited this place and all, I'd imagine you have a lot of disposable income. Someone looking out for you is one less thing for you to worry about amidst your budding business venture, right?" "Just extending an olive branch." We both scowled at each other. Olive branch, my ass. Duly noted. Teru smiled at me, and I glared back at her, and I felt as though she was going to devour me whole. That look really was one that could kill. "See you around then, if you need anything. Let me know. I'm sure we can come up with some kind of arrangement. I'll be back to pick your brain a little more sometime, okay? Hope to hear from you soon. Don't leave it too long." I remained quiet, but Teru chuckled to herself as she slipped her hands into her pockets and turned around with a flick of her jacket to walk back outside. As both myself and the remaining customers turned to look at the front door as it slowly swung shut, The ring of the bell was almost as though it was a signal for us all to breathe easily again. Jeez. As I heard the footsteps pounding down the wooden staircase behind me once more, I'd entirely forgotten what Say had even gone to do in the first place. Hey, so your toilet seat is a real menace to— Whoa, what's with the atmosphere? It's nothing, just an odd customer, that's all. They raised an eyebrow. An odd customer? What the heck does that mean? I folded my arms again before I shook my head, and everyone else in the store took that as a signal to relax. It's nothing, honestly. Don't worry about it. Chatter began to return, and the light began to be noticed as more present all over again. But even if it was a little scary, even if she was a little scary, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit interested in whoever Taru really was. And to ask me if I was in a gang already, well, that kind of felt like it'd been a bit out of the left field. Wonder what she was going on there. Ah, it's that time already? I gotta call Yuki. Ah. The last few words in my mouth just tumbled out before I could really catch myself from saying them. Not that I even wanted to stop myself anyway. Yuki. I really did want to talk to Yuki and at least begin to straighten all this out. Sounds good to me, Haruka. You totally should. I bet she'd be home now, too. You think so? Sure, I mean, like I said, I've called her at this time before. I think you should give it a go. Oh, goodness. Alright, wow. It's one of those heart-pounding event after the other today, isn't it? Right? Feels like we're in a game or something. Wouldn't that be crazy if someone was writing everything I was saying right now? That's kind of weird. You stop that. Sorry. Turning myself toward the direction of the storeroom I found myself in last night, disappointed and confused, I felt a horrid sense of anticipation that it might happen again. When it came to Yuki and Sei, both of them were irreplaceable forces in my life growing up. I valued them both above all else. Back here in Akiyama, there were two people to shape me, and without both of them, I doubt I'd be who I am today. With Sei, I always knew we'd be okay. Sure, we bickered from time to time, but who doesn't, right? But with Yuki, damn, I really missed her. I missed having her in my life. Maybe that's why I felt such a hole in my heart all that time in Tokyo. It was like it's constant mountains of regret, not getting to say goodbye to her properly. In an age where you can constantly be in touch with another at any given time, to not even be able to feel like you could reach out to spoke volumes. I also hated being angsty. This was not anywhere in my wheelhouse about anyone for any reason ever. I didn't do all that. I wanted this fixed up with Yuki so I could stop feeling like such a sap. Those thoughts firmly in my mind, I walked over towards the white plastic phone I was getting to know so well. Sei was hovering around outside helping a woman who had run up to her. Thought she was the owner. And as I placed my palm on the cold surface of the phone, I pushed in the number quickly. Please be home, please be home. Phone's ringing. And ringing. Found myself anxiously waiting the sound of the receiver on the other end being picked up. Come on, Yuki, come on, damn it. As I stood in the back room with the phone in my hand, I heard the front door being opened with a loud slam. Was that mobster woman back or something? Oh my gosh, what's happening? Well, we're going to find out next time on Love Bakudan. I'll see you back here on Wednesday. Everybody have a good day. And as always, take care.